Welcome to the BCAM podcast, where we believe better coaching always matters. My name is Michael Masucci, author of Elite Journey books and BCAM board member. My co-host is Dan Young, the executive director of BCAM, the Basketball Coaches Association of Michigan. On this podcast, we bring in leaders for the betterment of our great game. Our vision is that every team across the state of Michigan has a great coach. We're so excited to have Coach Andy Bronkema from Central Michigan University joining us today. Coach, welcome to the BCAM podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Coach, we're really excited, and we're excited to get to know your coaching journey. But you were hired in April. Tell us how it's been since April in these short months here, getting acclimated to Mount Pleasant, to your new position, and all the things that come with that.
Yeah, just over 2 months now. Getting acclimated to Mount Pleasant hasn't been too bad at all. This is my neck of the woods. This is my footprint growing up in McBain and coaching in Big Rapids. So that part's been easy. It's a great place for me to be. Very comfortable. Just learning a lot in the first 2 months. The big three things for us was just to build the roster, build the coaching staff, and build the schedule. And those things are pretty much complete. And then just the learning curve of learning the different processes here and who does what and who to contact for what. And still learning all that stuff, but it's been a good transition and a lot of fun.
Awesome. Coach, you mentioned coaching staff. We have over 5,000 coaches in our association, and many of them are head coaches that are building a coaching staff this summer. What do you look for in an assistant coach?
There's a lot of things you want to look for, and it depends on how big your staff can be, So if you're at a place like Ferris State where you have one full-time assistant and you got to fill in with some volunteers, you're looking for a guy that can kind of do it all. And here at Central Michigan, we have 5 assistants, so you want to build a staff. They can all coach on the floor. That's kind of a given, but what do they bring to the office? What do they bring to the program that they can essentially be the head coach of themselves? So you break up all the different tasks, try to put everybody in their strength area, and then try to avoid the areas that they don't enjoy. And everybody gets 1 or 2 tasks that maybe is in the middle for them, and they have to get a little bit better at it, or they have to learn to love it and become an expert in that. And that's kind of how you divide it up. But really, the number one thing is loyalty. Just for me, past experience with the coach and trust and loyalty, and that way you're doing life with them every day in the office, and there's a lot of trust factors. So that's the biggest one, because talented people can learn new things, and if you bring a guy in that's going to help you in the first 2 months. But after that 2 months, a talented guy can learn those things. What's his advantage after that, right? So, there's a learning curve for everybody. But once we get the process down here, then it becomes about the trust and knowing each other and the loyalty and just really doing life together. You gotta hire guys that you enjoy being around.
That's excellent. I like that. Talented people can learn new things. That's really good. You mentioned growing up in McBain. You went to McBain High School. Where did you fall in love with basketball? And tell us a little bit about your early days as a hooper and where that took you all the way up to maybe your first coaching job.
Absolutely. It started at an early age. My dad was a high school basketball coach, football coach, athletic director. I had a brother that was 2 years younger than me, sister 6 years younger, and just kind of grew up with basketball, football, whatever season it was, baseball, just always playing ball and trying to compete. Probably my first love was football, big football culture in McBain, and basketball too. But and my dad being a basketball and football coach, but he coached football as defensive coordinator for a lot of years. So we kind of had a football group of guys, and it translated to some success there at the small school level, D7, D6, and then just small town USA, right? So all the football guys go out for the basketball team and switch sports, switch jerseys, and go for it there. So, it was just for me, Northern Michigan. It was just before like club basketball exploded onto the scenes and specialization and all that. So I mean, when it was baseball season, I loved baseball, and fortunately for me, with my dad being a coach and my siblings being into it and my mom being supportive, and then I played for a Hall of Fame basketball coach and Bruce Coltman. He's in our BCAM Hall of Fame, and I played for a Matt McDonald in football and baseball. I just had some great coaches growing up, and that really just helped my love for athletics and really competing. Whatever I'm doing, I'm just trying to compete. But I'd say probably going into my senior year, I kind of decided, hey, basketball was kind of the route I was going to try to go for college. I took some small college visits for baseball and football too, but you have to eventually pick. So fell in love with Cornerstone University and got really lucky because the coaching staff there and the tradition there, another Hall of Famer in Kim Elders. So just got really lucky there. Um, we wanted to go somewhere where we could win and we could win it all. And got to a Final Four, fell a little bit short, but Coach E's got 3 titles there and definitely knows how to win. And that just took me into into Big Rapids and Ferris State and college coaching. And the whole time, guys, I tell this story quite a bit, but I think it's a pretty cool story and maybe motivating to other people. But I moved to Big Rapids to be an elementary PE teacher and a high school coach, and I taught elementary PE for 3 years, but I never got the high school head coaching job. I actually didn't get it at Crossroads Charter Academy. So, and instead of maybe coaching the JV or helping out, I asked if I could volunteer at Ferris. Volunteer for 3 years, and then I was the head assistant for 3 years, and then the story is when Bill Saul, who's now the coach at Calvin, he was my boss at Ferris. When he took another job at Northern Michigan, I was scheduled to go up there, but I got a courtesy interview, and did well enough to get to the final 3, and a couple successful veteran coaches, ended up turning the job down. I was the last man standing, so uh, it's a pretty good story, and I fell into that job 29 years old, and made the big time where you're at is kind of a model I go after. I love it, loved it at Ferris. Was there 18 years, and still love Ferris State. But now we're over at Central Michigan for 2 months, and we got a new challenge. But I was set to be a high school coach. I was set
Wow,
to be a teacher. Those are the passions.
that's awesome.
Well, there's so many lessons from that journey. It's such a great story. Thanks for sharing this because you can turn what looks to be a disappointment into a blessing by just sticking at it and just staying with it and staying positive. And it sounds like you've had some unbelievable, including your parents, people in your life that just poured into you. Can you talk a little bit generally about that, like some of those early lessons in life, either from your coaches or from your parents that are part of your overall like philosophy in coaching?
Yeah, a lot of lessons. I mean, if you have to pick a few, I mean, the one I always refer to is just I call it permission to win or winning lessons. Everybody I was around, really showed me what it took to win. And if you don't win on the scoreboard, you did everything you could, to give yourself a chance to win. And just I was just luckily around a lot of people that did winning things, and the expectation was to win. And that was a huge blessing. I mean, you look in hindsight and clarity, and you look at all the people that came into your life, and the people that touched you, and the people that you were involved with, even the group of friends I grew up with. What an amazing group of guys to grow up with like minds, guys that wanted to compete and win every time they stepped on the floor or on the field. So it was really a blessing. And it's you know McBain's not a very big place, and but there's a big culture there, and there's a lot of good people, and a lot of good people that influence my life. And that's one of the big reasons I wanted to be a teacher and a coach, right? So you have these role models in your life, and you have these people that are influencing you, people you look up to, and you just want to be them, and you want to do that sort of thing for other people. It wasn't just my coaches either. A lot of other great teachers in the high school and just people you looked up to. So that was kind of my dream, vision, and path. And that set me up. That type of framework set me up really for my college decision. Do you want to try to go as big as you can and walk on? Maybe you're missing a little bit of the talent. You got to get your foot in the door and prove yourself. Do you want to dual sport at a smaller place? And that's why I chose Cornerstone, because they had just come off a national championship in '99, and I've did some visits there, worked a couple camps there, and it was really just the winning that attracted me to the school. There were some other factors that supported that, but when it came to just the basketball portion of it, it's like, hey, this is a talented group, a great system, and they win here, and I wanted to be a part of that. Those are some of the life lessons. Some of them aren't just straight up lessons. It's just something that seeps into you over time, right? When you're pursuing winning or excellence, it just becomes kind of a way of life. This is how we do things. This is the expectation. And sometimes if you're in a different situation or you're not as blessed or lucky to just have, grown up with that or be thrown into it, you might have to learn what not to do in some circumstances, or you might have to, see it from a different angle. But I got really lucky.
That's great. Well, you left your stamp at Ferris State University. Well, that's without a doubt. When you won a national championship, 9 league titles, 9 NCAA visits. I mean, really a historic run at that school. I'm sure it was quite emotional to say goodbye, and many coaches have to do that to to the places they're coaching. Do you care to share a little bit about that transition and how that was talking to your team and the whole move over to Central?
Yeah, I mean, it was quick, so it was 11, maybe 12-day process from the first contact to the press conference. And, that's a big life decision to happen really quick. And, you spend some time dreaming about, taking a different step or a different path or a different challenge. Well, mainly for me, for 18 years and 12 as the head coach, I was just dreaming about winning a national championship and then winning another one, and just impacting the young men that were at Ferris State, the people we were bringing in there, the coaching staff I had, the community. So it wasn't, again, necessarily my main goal in life, if a goal at all. Part of me had set some of that down, um, and was just really pretty happy trying to reinvent myself every year to be better and to serve the team I was coaching in the best way possible. So when the opportunity came up, it was a quick process, but there was a lot of emotion into it. And then the day finally came, I had to tell the team, and I guess the best way to put it was so emotional that it was emotionless. It was just like too much. So you had to kind of be a matter of fact, and some of the emotions sank in later. But it was just a lot to bear and a lot to handle, because we put everything you have into the place you've been your whole adult life, and you love and care about the players there, and things are changing so quick. And not a lot of it was just, surprise, this is happening. So it was pretty emotional, and it was pretty quick, and there's a lot that went into that thought process.
I bet. Well, I just want to take you to one team at Ferris State, 38-1, a national championship team. You know, all of our coaches are preparing their season right now in the summer, and there's a handful, maybe more than a handful, that feel like they can win a state championship or they can win a national championship at the college level. What were some things about that team that you saw early, like in the summer before, that you're like, well, maybe we have a chance here, and maybe talk us through that journey, like how you developed it, and I'm sure you had some breaks along the way, but you had to have some talent and some leaders on that team that I'm sure you want to share.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anybody that came before me and was there with me before the national championship, it all really just set the table for that 2018 year. And I truly believe that. That's not coach speak. That's a lot of generations of people pouring into a university and a lot of pride. And we ended up getting the bounces we needed and getting a little luck along the way to finish the job for a lot of people. So a lot of people were proud of that. But the writing was on the wall. The year before, we were really, really good. Got knocked out in the second round by a Finley team, but good enough, to compete for it all. And we lost one player, and we were bringing, Mr. Basketball, Deshaun Thrower, into the fold. We signed a starter from Hofstra. We had some talented people coming into the mix after just losing one guy. So we we were talking about it out loud, and we were saying national championship. We were saying, big things, and not necessarily to the public or on social media or anything like that, but in house, that was our goal and our desire was to win it all. And so the fact that we talked about it out loud and it happened is pretty remarkable now. But we had a first team All American returning in Zach Hankins, 6'11", athletic. We probably had the best point guard in the nation in Drew Cushenberry, and I could go on down the line. What we really had was a group of guys that wanted to play for each other. And the legends grow, right? You have a championship team like that, or any type of successful team. Years and years later, the legends get bigger and bigger.
Right.
And the stories, and they should, right? They should get bigger and bigger, but the main thing about that group, I mean, when you have Deshaun Thrower willing to come off the bench and he
Wow.
has no ego about it, and then he drops 21 points in 20 minutes in the regional finals, the biggest crowd ever at Ferris State, and everybody on the team is happy for him. I mean, we had 10 starters on that team. We played 11 guys, every game, and guys just playing for each other. That was a special thing about that team, and it was a magical run for us, but I remember a couple different scenarios in that season. We hit a buzzer beater at Ashland to force overtime and won, and then we go up to Michigan Tech, and we're about to lose the game. We're at the free throw line, down 3, and we're going to make the first one, miss the second, try to rebound it and tie it. Well, we missed the first one, and Hankins goes in the lane, gets the rebound, kicks it out to Noah King. He makes a 3 in the corner, and to force overtime again, we end up winning. But before the overtime, I walked over to the water cooler, and I just think I don't know if we can be beat. At this point in time, these guys believe in themselves so much. And every pregame speech, it was just looking into their eyes and knowing that they knew if we played our A game, we couldn't be beat, and if we played our B game, we were going to find a way. And it was a surreal, special feeling with the group, and even right down to the last shot. I mean, Northern State had a shot to win it, deep NBA 3 with a little contest. It fell short, but that ball was supposed to fall short, and that group is legendary.
Well, it sounds like a lot of earned breaks. You know what I mean? Like earned luck that you guys worked hard to accept. I liked your quote earlier where you gave your team permission to win, and they ended up doing it. So congratulations on that. That's something that can never be taken away. I know Coach Young is very excited about you being at SMU, being or CMU, excuse me, being a CMU grad. Coach Young, you want to talk a little bit about your connection to Central Michigan and how excited you are to have Coach Bronk there?
Sure. I fresh out of high school, had my local. I'm from grew up in Canton, and Greg Williams, Cole Vickers, just speak so highly of you. I just bumped into
Dietrich Lieber, Logan Ryan. We had a
Dietrich
Canton
Lieber,
connection.
yeah, Logan Ryan. So it goes on, and I just bumped into Greg Williams' dad, and it was the week before his wedding, and he said you were going to be coming down to Kentucky.
It's a great time. Yeah, we'll share those stories off the air. But it was
Yeah,
a great time.
yeah, great. So I was a manager for Charlie Coles for 4 years in college, and very proud of Central Michigan, very proud to be an alum, and have always been. So just knowing you and your it factor and your ability to motivate and your trust within players and staff and team and building culture, and then your style of play is just exciting. And you're going to do an amazing job. You're a perfect fit for Central Michigan. and I can't be more fired up to fire up Chips, but fired up for you, and just fired up to be an alum and try to support you in any way we can. So I just can't be more happy.
Well, I appreciate that. And a lot of people feel that same way. So, for me, it's been 2 months, but it's going to be just passion project to connect with the past and these emotions that you have. A lot of people have these. So just to connect, tell the stories, get the current team to feel that feeling and hear what it felt like in the past and just hear some of the legends and bring them back and bring them around and get connected. That's part of a program. You mentioned Coach Coles and his success here and everybody that
Dave
carried the
Ginsburg,
torch.
yeah,
Yeah,
Dave
everybody
Ginsburg.
that carried the torch here, and now I'm carrying it and I'm happy to do that. But, it's the Chippewa Nation. So a lot of respect for things in the past and where we came from. And I'm learning about it, but, happy to learn about it. It's just exciting to hear everybody's experience and why it's such a special place to them.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely work hard to get as many of the alumni back to speak to your guys, be around. Dave Ginsburg and Derek Bolden and myself will help you with that, and can't wait to do that. So it's gonna be fun.
In 1991, I had a coaching class by Charlie Coles. He was the best teacher I ever had, very charismatic, and he cared about his craft. And he also brought in Coach Duramity to also teach. And I noticed their relationship. It was like a real healthy football coach, basketball coach relationship. Central Michigan hired a new football coach. Have you had a chance to meet him? And if so, you guys are two new coaches together. I think that's pretty exciting time for the university. You want to talk a little bit about that relationship, or if it hasn't happened, what you hope it to be?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Coach Drinkle is full of energy, and he's got some ideas and a plan for the future, and he's getting people excited about that plan. So I'm going to be as close to the action with Coach Drinkle as he allows me. So I usually at Ferris State, Tony Anise and I were the same way, very very close, shared some athletes, but I'm going to sneak out to practice if I can get my hands on a football and throw a couple drills, I will. If I get on the field during the games, I will. And if they need an extra person on the chain gang, I'll be over there, keeping my mouth shut, but listening to the opponents and taking it all in. So can't wait for football season. It's gonna be a joy, but there's a lot of excitement around here, and not just football and men's basketball, but a lot of different sports, and just kind of moving in to a new era of college athletics and finding new ways to do things. And the thing I appreciate early on the most about Coach Drinkle is he's not and a lot like myself and our staff, but they're not talking about the things that are going wrong. They're talking about the things that are going right, and he finds a way to stay positive when maybe there's no reason to be positive, but he finds one. And that's the type of people you want to be around, surround yourself with, and work with every day. So very excited about the football season.
Before we go on, I loved when you won the national title and football won it, and you would go and clean the showcase out. And I thought that was so funny and so cool. I just thought that was great. And you know what? People see that, and you're like, it's like you're winning one. You know what I mean? And it was really funny. It was really cool. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
All the coaches in their programs are chasing the same thing, and you got to have appreciation for that. And it's not just at CMU; it's all throughout, the GLIAC, the MAC, all throughout the nation. There's a healthy appreciation for what needs to be done for a chance to win. And when you see somebody else having success, you need to be their biggest fan and just really appreciate it with them. And even if it's a rival, even if it's at the end of the day, there has to be that respect there, and you want to beat them when you're playing against them, but you can appreciate greatness wherever it's at.
That's
Amen.
well said. Well, I think it's also a really good lesson for our coaches who are, without a doubt, very, very competitive, but to share in the success of the other coaches, the football coach, the softball coach, the soccer coach, and to have some collegiality, sharing athletes. You mentioned it well, coach, learning from one another, supporting one another. I think that's just such a important lesson as they go to their sports this fall. So, coach, let's talk hoops. Let's talk specific basketball stuff. Many of our coaches are, developing or continuing systems, whether they're defensive or offensive. Talk a little bit about what you like to do on the offensive side and how that developed.
Well, that's a good word. It develops. It develops every year, and I'll compare it. My master's is in curriculum and instruction. I set out to be a teacher. I'm from a family of teachers and educators, so that's the lens I see it through. Developing your system is like developing a curriculum. And if you're teaching third grade and you take the third graders through the whole year, you're going to get a new group of them the next year, and you got to take them through the same curriculum. But then again, every year you should look at your lessons and see what you need to throw out, what you need to add to it. Maybe you add another special lesson and you just expand. And there's always coaches on the cutting edge, and there's nothing new under the sun. So you could just beg, borrow, and steal, make it yours. And we touched on it before, but I've been around a lot of great basketball minds, and I study hard, and I beg, borrow, and steal with the best of them, and I combined it into a curriculum. And I guess the key to it is, and we can talk about X's and O's, what we like to do, but really, there are a lot of adequate systems. So you can pick whatever system you want. If you teach it the best and hold your players accountable to doing it better than the other team holds their players accountable to doing it, you have a chance to win. So it's about teaching the curriculum, teaching the system, and it's about holding them to the standard that you set. That's what coaching is. So, for us, it's been, fast break, up tempo, deep lineups, throwing in a press, running motion offense, running sets when somebody gets hot. Sometimes it's been 4 out, 1 in, sometimes it's been 5 out, sometimes we go to a little continuity if we need it. So there's some flex in there, but whatever you decide to do, um, you know, you got to teach it well, and you got to be able to hold people accountable to that standard. And that's what we focus on doing. Sometimes it literally, you could just throw a dart at the dartboard and pick your ball screen coverage. And, there are game scouts and there's adjustments, and I'm not making light of those. But if you pick out whatever one you want and you teach it the best, and you rep it out the best, and your players are sold into it, you're going to be pretty good at it. And, that's the way I see the game. And for us, those have been part of our system. Like I said, the fast break, sharing the ball, 5 guys in double figures, 1 guy gets hot. It's a new guy every game. Playing deep lineups, and spacing the floor. But those things are kind of what I like to do and what I like to recruit to. But when you have Zach Hankins, you got all the quick hitters to get the ball in the post. When you have Cole Walker, you're spacing the floor and he's hitting 9 threes in a game. So you do have to adjust too.
Right. That's great. Now, what about the defensive side? What do you like to do there? What do you focus on?
Well, at the Division II level, we pressed a lot, and that was part of our, philosophy, and our, playing with depth and wearing teams out, and, taking some of the shot clock and get some steals, and I'm not willing to say exactly what we're going to do yet, because I got to study more and see what might give us the best chance. But certainly, man to man is the go-to. But if you have a little bit of a zone or different coverage that can get the team out of rhythm, I mean, if they're scoring on our man to man for 4 possessions in a row, then going zone and getting them out of rhythm. Even if they score, they were scoring against our man to man. So trying to get them out of rhythm, trying to make the other team do something that we're programmed to defend and they're not used to doing. So, and if you want to break it down even simpler, you got to contest shots on defense and you got to create open shots on offense. And however you want to do it, pick the way you want to do it, and then develop a series of drills and a practice plan that focuses on that, and then hold your guys accountable to it, and it'll happen.
Coach,
You
quick
can
question.
tell you were raised by teachers because you can see it in your voice. You have words like accountability, you have words like simple, you have words like repetition. Like those are
He's a
teacher
great
words.
He's a
Yes.
great teacher.
Coach Young, you've mentioned before and you've touched on a little bit. One of the things that I know you're proud of is the quality of coaches in the state of Michigan, not only at the high school level, but certainly at the college level. So to keep a coach like Bronk here, like in Michigan, like tell us a little bit about that as we kind of wind down this conversation of as an executive director, how proud you are and how much you're looking forward to continuing this relationship.
So, 2 Hall of Fame banquets, Bronkema, his college coach and his high school coach. And that's the lineage of BCAM when you think about it. And that's like Bronkema is we're all proud of this. We're proud of the Ferris State. We're proud of now he's at Central Michigan. But more importantly, we're just proud that he works with young men and helps them get better in life. And you can feel it when you start talking. And when you talk about the eyes looking at you before the game, and you can tell when your guys are totally locked in, and they're locked in because of you and your leadership. So, I mean, I was going to ask you about, is your high school coach and your college coach, are they always kind of back there in the back of your mind as you're sitting alone or you're watching film, or is that something that's just a part of you? I was curious to that.
I don't know if they're in the back of my mind every day. That might be a little
No,
bit
no, I
scary.
mean, no, not at all. I'm
Maybe
just saying, from a
Coach Allen.
philosophy, when things
Yeah.
get rough, when things get tough, what do you go back to?
Well, first of all, I could hear Coach Elder's foot stomp in the back of my mind, and that stare anytime, right? And
Right.
Coach Toltman, defense and rebounding. But elements of our system, um, I just flat out took from Coach Coltman and Coach Elders, certainly, and credit to a lot of people. But and Coach Coltman's already been to one of our summer practices here, and he's a CMU alum, and he's
Love it.
proud. And we went to team camps here when we were in high school and all that. But certainly, their influence has been. If I had to make it simple. And this is no slight. And if Coach Coltman's listening to this, hey, look, I like the flex offense too, man. You can make it work. If you teach it well, you can make it work. Don't go away from it. Don't go away from it. It's tried and true. It's like bell bottoms; they're coming back. But what a great defensive coach, and what I mean, just demanding you getting on the glass, and then Coach Elders, the offensive system and getting the ball moved up the floor and the spacing element to it and the high-low stuff and old school playing through your big man and all that stuff I took with me. Just a beautiful form of basketball.
Yep.
And
Yep.
there's things even as a player that maybe I didn't like as much, like running lots of sprints in practice. And, we try not to run in practice. We try to get that conditioning in with the
With the
drill work
ball.
we do.
Yeah, with the ball.
With the balls. So there's things that you take away, certainly. And I've said it once, I'll say it again. I'll keep saying it because I'm thankful for just the people that I've been around. But to play for those two guys, and I don't, it's just I'm really fortunate, and they taught me a lot. So, and I respect them for it, and they're mentors, and like you said, there's a lineage. I'm proud to be a part of that, and I see it as part of my job, to create a tree of coaches, and when you see those talented people that are passionate about it, and I always tell them, hey, look. when you're a coach, take what you like, leave what you don't, and get after it. You don't have to be exactly like me at all, but be better than me. All these guys are my retirement plan, right? So when I'm done, I'll start a consulting business, and all these coaches out here can pay me to write notes at their practice or something. So it'll be good. It'll be a good plan.
Just happy for you. Congratulations on your new position, and we're all pulling for you.
Hey, if there's one other thing I want to say, because I've had this conversation with so many coaches lately, right? Because like Coach Coltman is a legacy. He's coached sons of players that he coached, right? Generations. And the next coaches coming up, it seems like they're there 2-3 years and
Yeah.
then they're burned out or they're leaving or they're
Yeah.
switching schools. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. But, the main thing I keep hearing is like the younger coaches, they're not willing to start the youth programs or blow up the basketballs or carry the bags or just, that's how I started as a volunteer. That's how, if you look at my staff, Brooks Miller, GA for Bobby Knight, Coach Lake, Coach Moan, Coach Schwa, they all volunteered at Ferris, were my assistants, lived in my basement, had third shifts at Eagle Village, Jimmy Booth volunteered for me. It's like you have to do something at the ground level and be willing to do it. Everybody's got all these great ideas. Well, if I was the head coach, I would do this or run this sweet player, this secret defense. That's fine and good. But what you need to do is make somebody's life ahead of you better. When they give something to you, you do it well. When they give something else to you, do it well, and you build yourself up. Stick with it, right? I mean,
Yep.
and do
Yep.
do the little things. Do the little things, and be willing to do those things. So that's come up with me and a bunch of coaches lately, and it's kind of disturbing because if you do that, you take that route. I mean, you could end up at Central Michigan, and I'm living proof.
That's a great clip. We have an aspiring coaches program. We've had over 100 coaches go through it. And that's a great lesson for them. It's a great anecdote to provide for them. Is doing those little things, not expecting you to walk into, and even your interview story is beautiful too. Like, sometimes things happen for a reason, but many times it's because it's earned by the little things you do prior to being the head coach. So, well said. We're going to end with a question we ask all of our guests, Coach, and that is this, and I think you hit on it, so it might be an on-ramp to maybe even extending it. If you were to give an aspiring head coach some advice, somebody that wants to have a long, distinguished career, what would that be?
There's a lot of advice, but I would say you got to be willing to do something that no one else is willing to do. If you whether it's volunteering or taking a low stipend or moving across the country or sitting on a couch or mopping the floor before practice, you just got to be with. If you do that and you stick around and you're willing to do that, selfless servant, sacrificial leadership, you do that over and over and over, and good things will happen to you. So the second piece of advice is you're always a lifelong learner. I mean, those teams, my early Ferris teams. I mean, what if I was the coach I am now? Then maybe we would have won some more games, probably. Luckily, we had good players, but you never stop learning. You don't pretend you know it all. And you're a lifelong learner. You're always studying, and you're never too big to do the smallest little task. Never.
I like that. Excellent. Coach, we can't thank you enough for joining the BCAM podcast. I'm sure coaches will want to know how to get a hold of you, or if you're open to having them come to practice. Do you mind if we provide your email to them, or how could they reach out to you?
Yeah, practices are always open. We'll get some of that information out. I got a bunch of burner emails, so if I gave you those, it'd just be a dirty trick. But if I answered all my emails and my voicemails every day, I wouldn't be able to coach at all. So look, if you're interested, we got a relationship, get up here, you'll get a hold of me. But the thing about that is, relationships are going away too, right? So, you know, stick with it. Show up again. And all of a sudden you have a network. You're building your network. We'd love to be part of people's network here. I love BCAM. I love the clinic. Super supportive. So, love to have people get up here to practice and, participate however I can. I like going to the clinic even better than speaking at it because, I can pull something that makes us better.
That's what I've always loved about you is you've spoke at our clinic before, and then I see you in the stands. Then I see you at the hotel with Robin Freilich, who was at Ashland at the time, and you guys are just diagramming and how do you do this? How do you do that? It's just like that's the kind of stuff that's why you guys are what you're doing. But you know what? It's awesome. And if coaches aren't willing to do that, then you're not going to get all this love back that you're going to have from your players and from long time. Just that connection with your players will never, ever leave you. And there's nothing like it. And if you're only going to coach for a couple of years, you don't get that. You just don't get that. And so going to your players' weddings, being at the clinic every year, sharing ideas, you're the best, Bronx. Can't wait to watch you. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Fire up chips, baby.
Fire up.
Coach Bronk, thanks for joining us.
Appreciate you guys.
All right,
we
Coach,
want to thank all of our listeners. Thanks for the positive emails we're getting. We really appreciate that feedback. Go ahead and rate us a 5-star on that to help us continue to go and get great guests like Coach Bronkema. Coach, thanks again, and we wish you all the best.